Hello and welcome. This is Eagle Eye 621, and what you're looking at behind me is a sugarcane farm that produces about 8,400 sugarcane per hour. That's about 2,100 per crop. This is the response to people asking about how different clocks can affect the rates for these Shaky-Sand farms. And indeed, you can get more out of one crop than in the other farm I showed you last time, but this is the complication you need to go through in order to try and get those additional rates. It's a lot more costly, and given that you do need to have these hopper minecarts here, it also causes a decent amount more lag. Now, I have it set up over here to show you why you do need those hopper minecarts. If you try and just use to push it in onto a hopper, you can see that you do end up with some crops on the ground, which is bad for your world in terms of lag. So this is another option, but frankly a worse option than just going with the more simple clock. If you really want to max out the rates for whatever reason you have to have this kind of a setup. So let me show you how to make that and the materials you need, and those are in this chest. Now some of these you've seen before. This is the setup for that inside-out version of the Shaky-Sand design that does work in the current pre-release 3 of 1.15. These are the materials to start that clock, and then these are a copy of the materials you will need in order to set up your harvesting mechanism. You will need more than the 2 water buckets here, but this is just for an infinite source, and these are modifiable right here between your stairs and your glass blocks. They're just there to hold in the water. So I have a copy of those right here. And let's get started. And just come over here and get off the ground a little bit to make it a little bit easier. Now, this is the inside out setup, so you need to go 7. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Turn and go 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 6 more again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you did that right, these should match, which they do. Now we're going to put a repeater in the center on all of them, feeding into each other in a big circle or square. And then we're going to put our dust all around the edges. And then we'll grab our pistons and put them facing into the block right next to where the repeater is on top of. And we do that for all 4 sides. And then to start this off, we're going to take some of these temporary blocks and 3 this way, come on this side for 3 that way, with a block in the center like this, and dust, and more dust. Now you want to connect opposite corners, and you can see that we're doing that right here. And then we're going to set this off with a 1 game tick pulse that will hit both these opposite corners and start our whole system. And now we can destroy this temporary setup that we used to start the farm, and we can now add our sand. And this does take a couple of tries sometimes. You need to make sure that it is shaky. If it's not shaking, then just drop it again. And sometimes it's more difficult than others. And now we can start, well, not start, we'll grab our staircase and our glass, and we're going to pick one side, it doesn't matter, and put our staircases in like this, and then a glass block here and there. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, and this is so that we can grow the sugarcane, because sugarcane does need water to be attached to the sand block. So now when we fill that with our water buckets, the water won't spill over and ruin any of your redstone, and do on both of those sides. Now we can take a chest, just so we have something to point into, and connect some hoppers, and then also connect some additional hoppers this way, all pointing into that one, and that is so that the hopper is lined up with the sand itself. You don't need to go that far down. You can put the chest up a little bit more if you want. And then we're going to put some of our chests as temporary blocks like this. And we're also going to grab some rails as well, which I should have added to the list. You will need some rails. I'll add a comment so people know. And then you can go one at a time, or you can go all of them at the same time. Doesn't really matter. You need to put your hopper minecart on the rail and push it into that chest. And then you can destroy that, come alongside and do that again. And I deleted the wrong block. So let's try this again. And now we put our rails down and the hopper minecart and push it over. And then destroy those. And do it on this side, of course. And push it over. And then one last time on the final side. Rails, minecart with hopper, push it, and then destroy these things. Once that's done, you can destroy these chests, and you can add your sugarcane. And to do that, you just want to aim for the sides of the block right here. So there's a little sliver, and you can plant that down and around on all four. There we go. There we go. Now to set up the harvesting mechanism, we're going to come out 2 from that block that's 1 above the hopper minecart. And that's going to be our guiding block for where we're going to put our pistons. And then we can put our piston facing in on all 4 of those. And then we need to get our observers ready, as well as our slime blocks and sticky pistons. And then we're going to point an observer into that piston that we just placed. And I'll show you a completed version of these when we're done so you can get a side profile. We're going to put a sticky piston on top of that with a slime block in front of it and a redstone block underneath. When I destroy this block, you'll see it'll set the whole thing off. And this is a block update detector. So when anything grows or is placed next to it, it will set off the piston and reset itself. And you can see it's setting it off almost before you can even see it grow. And one more time over here, destroy that block, and then one last time, sticky piston facing this way with a slime block, redstone block, and then that will set the whole thing off. And now it is going. And you can see that we have some crops that are pouring into our chest down here. And the rails that were left over from just destroying that setup. As I said, it's pouring in at a rate of about 8,400 per hour. So you can take this chest and set up a storage system, or you can link this to your main storage somehow. If you do build 2 of these, understand you can't hook them up to the same hopper line because hopper tops out at 9,000 items per hour, and this by itself is almost at the maximum. So if you really want to squeeze the maximum possible life, you can have this set up. You can actually squeeze out just a little bit more. Technically, the sugarcane is growing at a rate of 2,250. That difference has to do with these pistons that are extending and retracting that are blocking some of the growth speed. If you set up a block update detector that uses 0-tick piston, you could probably squeeze another 50 or 100 out of it per plant per hour, but that's really above the complexity of what you need. You're much better off just setting up a simpler clock and making more of them than trying to even touch these rates, let alone going for something higher. And then I do hope you're subscribed for a thing in the distance that doesn't exist yet, but I should be able to show in the next video or the one after that. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate a like and a share. And for more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for stopping by.